Hey guys, welcome back to another Flashback review. And the movie I'm going to be talking about is a movie that is a cult classic. Some people consider it to be a gangster film. Some of the people consider it to be a dramatic monster film. I'll let you guys be the decision on that. This film is one of the few films that have been split down the middle of people liking it and hating it. There's really no majority that actually has a feeling toward this film. Many people actually like it or hate it for the exact same reasons that I'm going to talk about right now. For most critics of the film, they hate this movie because of the swearing and the violence that is presented in the movie, and at the same time, most moviegoers love the film for its violence and swearing. So it pretty much worked both ways. One thing I will say about this movie is that it is the only film that everybody had an anonymous decision on, for most of the people anyway that I have spoke to, and those who have made their own feelings on this matter, is the performance of Al Pacino. Al Pacino, who played a pretty much controversial character in the movie Scarface. Now, this is a movie I wanted to do back a while ago, and I delayed it for obvious reasons because I was doing other films. But this is a movie I wanted to watch fully once again to refresh my memory and actually see what pointers I like and don't like, as well as the sticking point, whether I will give this film a high rating or not. I might as well say first that this film, from the gate, had a lot of problems, and that was not because of the movie contact or anything. It was the fact that the Rating Association and the Motion Picture Association wanted to give this film an X rating, which it probably would have gotten, and the people who made this film probably would have been okay with it if it wasn't for the fact that the X brand was not copyrighted by the Motion Picture Association, and that it was already hijacked by the porn industry. And being that there has been a humongous backlash on that rating, where movie theaters was not going to show anything with the X brand on it, or even for that matter, most video stores would not even sell anything with the X brand on it, even though they did have, at the time, a separate category for such things. This movie has actually been butchered a bit, to the point where they just made the R rating, but just by this much. And I'm gonna go by the one scene that I'm gonna talk about, and that's the scene of the shower and the chainsaw. You guys are already all too familiar with that scene. I don't know if it's actually been placed in any special edition. I was watching it from the regular edition with just a trailer and stuff, so I really don't know if they added that scene. But it seemed to be more graphic in that scene than what we have seen in theaters or even on TV, for that matter. And that was pretty much the deciding factor, where they actually had to edit it, that part where they didn't show any parts being flying off. For what I understand, you literally saw pieces coming together. But then again, I'm not too sure. I never seen that scene, and to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't be able to, even if they added it back on as an unrated version. What I can say is that the violence were a sticking point to that rating. And even when they actually did tone it down to get the R, this film still had that element where it could have easily gotten the X. But in any case, they got the R, and it still was considered a controversial film back at the time. And rightfully so, during that time period. The film pretty much follows a guy, Tony Montana, who was one of the people who fled Cuba after Castro had taken over, and basically is started to release a lot of people, including his jail population. He's pretty much stuck in a camp, as you all know. It's a very much detained camp, and everything was going a little bit out of control there. But he was able to get his green card after he killed a very famous figure who helped Castro at one point or another, helped torture, even kill fellow Cubans. after they taken care of that, they got their green card, and now they're officially United States citizens. They started working in fairly in legitimate jobs, but with very little pay. And it wasn't until a box deal that almost cost one of his friends his life, but almost cost his life. That he started to really slowly started working on the ranks. He managed to get the money and the drugs. He met the head person in charge, and he even met his wife, which I'll get to later on in this film. You start to see him slowly rise to power to the point where he was becoming a little overconfident. He was becoming arrogant. He basically was not following the boss's orders, which eventually actually came back to bite him in the ass in the during the last half of the film. And it got to the point where he was even hitting on his wife. He met the head boss of the Colombian drug cartel. He eventually he's getting into argument with the dude who is supposed to be with him, and it was later on revealed that he was actually an undercover agent who got hung in the helicopter, and he became pretty much buddy with the cartel, basically saying that, hey, I didn't even know who the guy was, I didn't like him and everything else. If you want to make a move, basically he respected him, but he also said don't cross him, which that eventually happened in the end. But he started to get more power, and that did not vote well with his boss, who now saw him as a threat, especially since he was basically putting the moves on his wife, which he pretty much knew what was going on. Eventually, the boss tried to have him hit, and which it failed, and it cost the guy's life, and he took over the business, which we saw a big, humongous montage with him, rising to power. We saw some scenes with his best friend and his sister, which, by the way, they established earlier that he was already in love with his sister. He gave him a warning not to mess with his sister. You can also see he's very protective of his sister, especially when he sees her, messing around with other guys, getting high in the club. He's basically, very, very protective. He basically almost killed the dude because of what he saw. And in an effort to protect his sister, they actually got her and his best friend closer together, and that became an attraction that came back tragic during the end of the film. During the latter half of the film, we started to see a few things. He started to pour in the money almost to the point where the dirty bank couldn't clean it. And in the process to get the money, transferred and make it clean again, he ended up going to someone else who was actually undercover agents and filmed the whole dirty transaction. He's in jail. He's still talking trash, and he still, basically has that arrogant smug about him. He still think he's untouchable. But apparently he was in very big trouble. The Colombians helped to bail him out, but in order for them to help him out further, they asked him to do a job which he didn't do, not because he didn't want to, but because he didn't want to take out the person's family, which is his wife and his two children. The assassin was going to blow up the car as they was driving down New York's highway. He ends up shooting his brains out, and now he basically is in serious trouble with the Colombian cartel. They're coming after him. Everything seemed to fall apart in the last end. His wife basically cursed him out in the restaurant and leaves him. He ends up killing his best friend because he realized that him and his sister was together now, and that cost him his life. And his sister told him, "Hey, you just killed your brother-in-law. I was married to him," and that was pretty much even more tragic. That his jealousy and his mean streak, finally got the better of him. He disobeyed the one order which was told right off the bat: don't get high on supply, which he did. Hurt him badly because now it was just messing him up all over the place. And finally, we led to the big climactic scene where pretty much he went down in a blaze of glory. I'm going to tell you this. This film, there are some good things I like about it, but there's also a lot of things I didn't like about it. Let me just go on to the things I did like about it right straight up the gate. One, Al Pacino is the man. I'm not even going to even argue that. A lot of people had complained at one point of whether or not Al Pacino should pick this role because he's Italian and he's playing a Cuban. But once he played this role, I didn't care what he was at the time. He was great. He played this role good. You may say he played it a little bit over the top, but it was that over the top that made that character remarkable. This character was arrogant. This character was thought he was untouchable, and he basically was pretty much the character that you pretty much want to describe from a guy like Tony Montana. I actually enjoyed seeing him on the screen, and the fact that he can convince Al Pacino can convince me that he is in fact a Cuban character like this. It's telling you something about this guy's acting. I mean, he's a tremendous actor. And it shakes my head why Al Pacino is not nominated for more awards. No, I'm sorry, why he's not won more awards than what he should have gotten. I mean, I think the only award he won was Scent of a Woman. But if I look at his resume, there should have been more trophies on his mantle right now because he really is a great actor. And this film, I'll be right now, this film would not be the way it was if somebody else would have played it. That's how it is. If you make a remake of this, which, by the way, they are making a remake of this movie. Don't ask me why. They are making it. They have the script already planned for it. And before anybody say anything else, yeah, I'm aware that this is also a remake of another film, but nobody really talks about that other film that came out years before Scarface. Everybody knows Scarface / Al Pacino in this film. But in any case, he did a tremendous job. I thought the soundtrack of the movie was fantastic. I thought it really captured the 80s feel, the 80s vibe. I really did enjoy that soundtrack, from He's on Fire to Push It to the Limit. Even the opening score was pretty damn good, which is why I was not keen on buying the anniversary or special edition where they put rap music in it. I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Rap music was not that popular and it was not that advanced in the 80s. I want the classic soundtrack, no more no less. I thought the acting was pretty good, with the exception of one, but I'll get back to that in a little bit. I thought the acting was good. The cursing didn't bother me. The violence didn't bother me. With the exception of that shower scene, which was very, very, very almost hard to watch. It had to stomach that scene. Even when I watch it now, I sometimes cringe because I was like, oh, I can't only imagine what he's going through his head seeing his friend chopped up like that. But I actually thought the violence was good. I thought the overall vibe and the cinematography was okay. It was very, very good. What I didn't like about the film, I'm gonna tell you, this film, for some reason, it was good pacing in 1 minute, and then it was slow in the others. And this film is like almost 3 hours long, so I guess that's one of the main thing about it. But there was a lot of slow pacing that quickly got me to lose my interest of this film. And for some reason, it all involved around Michelle Pfeiffer. I gotta tell you right now, guys, I did not like Michelle Pfeiffer in this movie. I really didn't like her in this film. And don't get me wrong, I actually like Michelle Pfeiffer's work. But this was not one of them. I know that she was young, and I guess I'm not used to seeing her in that role. And to be honest, if I didn't see the credits, I would not even know that was her. To be honest, but I really didn't like this character. It was something about this character I didn't like. I didn't see what Tony Montana actually saw in her. I thought she was bland, boring, and she really didn't contribute anything to this movie. I really didn't see anything she had to offer in this film. She was there to poke insults. She was there to just be there in some scenes. The only one scene that I actually thought was very interesting, even that I just found useless, was when she insulted Tony Montana in the restaurant in front of all these people, and Tony wanted to strangle her, but he really couldn't do anything. Even his boy was like, calm down, you're in public, and she left, and you never saw her since. Probably was one of the wise things, because I think she knew the writing was on the wall, and she just said, I'm not want any more part of this, I'm gone. But I felt that character was completely a waste of time. I didn't like the character at all. There was one scene that went way too long, and that's when he's talking to her in the, while she's getting, suntan up, and he's like confessing his love. But it went way too long, and I'm like, come on, man, this is not really that important, especially with the character. I was also a bit disappointed about how they portrayed the love affair with his best friend and his sister. I actually wanted to see how that would develop. You knew he liked her. She actually knew that she liked him, but they basically just made it into an afterthought. He had the feelings. That they had that conversation in the car, but after that, with the exception of the montages and the looks, that was really it. And so, when he disappeared, we know that he's with the girl, but we really didn't know how they was able to get together in secret and basically get married. And I was kind of wondering, I actually did want to know more about that and how they managed to pull that off. But apparently, I guess that was time-consuming for them to do, or they didn't bother to think that it was important. I thought it was. Maybe I'm just the only one that felt that way, but I thought I actually wanted to see a little more than that. But I guess the most thing, it goes back to pacing. I really, for some reason, it was exciting at one time. I was really into it, but then they started drifting off into things that I didn't care about. It was just so not so interesting. I wouldn't say boring, but it was like, really, are we gonna drag this out? I mean, come on, we could have gotten more faster. I guess that's probably one of the reasons why that montage was so damn important. I thought the montages in that film was actually pretty good, but I didn't think this movie, pacing wise, was that great. I really didn't. So the question is, what was the sticking point? As you know, is the ending scene. I mean, the ultimate shootout scene. I'm gonna tell you right now, that pretty much gave it a star right there, because that scene right there was epic. That was classic. I mean, he went out in a blaze of glory. He was high as hell, and he was shooting anyone that gets in his way. And when he shot him, I said, "Damn, this guy's so high, you don't even feel that." I mean, and it wasn't until the what I like to call the creep up assassin, who went up the other side and just blew his whole back out, and the film just ended. I said, that was crazy, and that was awesome at the same time. And I was like, wow, that's probably one of the best shootout scenes I have seen in a film in a while. I know there's other ones that's either better or just as good as that one, but that one pretty much defined the whole movie. I mean, you cannot see a Scarface film and not see the ending of that film. It pretty much defined the whole film, and it's one of the reasons why I'm giving this film 3 stars. I mean, besides the good acting, the size, the music, and the size of the storyline, which I thought was a pretty good, interesting storyline, I thought the ending was pretty much the breaking point. If the ending was anything less than that, it probably would have got a lower grade. But I thought that was probably one of the best ending scenes that I've seen during that time period. It's very, very much. If you ask a lot of people, they're going to remember that ending scene and how that scene went down. It was crazy. I can understand why some of the critics have hated this film in some ways, because it is violent, and the swearing sometimes can become a little bit annoying at times. But again, you can't really expect this film to be all peachy cream. This is to me is a gangster film. That's what this film is. I don't consider it an organized crime film. I don't consider this as anywhere in the league of The Godfather or Goodfellas. It's a gangster film, but most of all, it's a cult film, and it deserves to be a cult film. It is a film that I really do enjoy watching, and I don't mind watching again from time to time. I really don't. But I also understand why people may shy away from it because, again, and I talked to a friend of mine about this a while ago when I did my Godfather films, and I mentioned it before. This film does glorify violence a lot. I'm not even going to even deny that. It does have a tendency to do that, and sometimes that becomes it becomes an obsession for a lot of people where they forget that, hey, this is only a fantasy now. This is a movie. This guy is a fictional character. We shouldn't be making him as a hero, and I don't consider him as a hero. He's scum to me. I mean, yeah, granted, he had his limit with the wife and kid, but that doesn't excuse the fact that he still killed people. It doesn't also excuse the fact that he does not have a problem killing women if they're pointing a gun at him. And let's be honest, he killed his best friend. I mean, there's no loyalty in him either. So I don't glorify what he does, and I think that's what the critics were trying to keep away from, because they even some of the critics who saw this film admittedly said that, hey, we would not give this film a high rating because we believe that it's going to glorify a character that many people don't want to be glorified. They're right. I mean, this character shouldn't be glorified, no matter what he is. But it doesn't stop it from being a good gangster film or a mob film, whatever you guys choose. But that's my take on on Scarface. It gets 3 stars. It is a good film. The only thing I can say is that it does have some issues with some of the characters. At least for me, I was not happy with Michelle Pfeiffer's character in this movie. I was definitely not happy with the way the pacing was. I mean, the pacing was not great, but the story was good. The acting, Al Pacino nailed it. Loved his performance. The music was great, and probably one of the best action endings I've seen in cinema history. So it definitely deserves the 3 stars. So that's my feeling on it. I like to hear you guys' feeling on this movie. I like to hear what you're feeling on Scarface, and whether or not you felt that the film is good, bad, or do you felt that you have a certain hatred for the film, not because the film is good or bad, but because you felt that it has been glorified to the point where people consider him as a hero. Because whether you know it or not, there are people who feel that he is a hero to many people, which doesn't make any sense. There's nothing heroic about him, but there are people who do feel that way. So I like to hear your comments about this. Leave it on the comment section. Let me know, or send me a video response. I like to see what you guys feel about this movie, because it is one of the films that really has a very, very strong cult following. But until then, this is J77 saying you guys take care.